In this segment, let's talk about scanning your vintage film and how do you preserve your scans? How do you keep your hard drive safe? So, Owen, you had a lot of films from your childhood, films that your grandfather shot, and decades ago, when it became a really big thing, people got their films. Back then, it was called transferred to video,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, I guess, great at the time, but it didn't age well. They
No.
look awful. The technology used was there was a few different techniques. There was like a little shitty box that used a projector into a box with a mirror that went into a video camera. These are, tube cameras. And there was also projectors that were made that had a video audio output, like an RCA out that would go into a VCR, still VHS. It was very popular. How awful is it? Well, Owen's going to show us.
Yeah. Well, my dad did this telescene in the 80s of my grandfather's movies, and these are pretty special to me. It was these films that inspired me to get into film photography. I grew up watching these on VHS, and as you're going to see, the quality is really terrible. These are the original the original telescene from the 80s on VHS, and as you can see, it's pretty it's pretty terrible. I mean, it's yellow. The exposure is all wrong. Even the framing is wrong. The speed is wrong. But this was as good as you could get. And then this is the scan from the FPP in 2020. It's actually my aunt on her prom day. This is 1973. And I mean, just completely a huge difference in the scan quality from the 1980s. Unfortunately, only about 4 rolls from my grandfather's movies survive. The rest, unfortunately, were all thrown out. But a big difference. This is another scene that was telescened in the 1980s. This is downtown Cleveland, and again, you can just see that it's not sharp. It's not framed properly. It's not in focus. The white balance is all wrong. I mean, it's just not good. And it's going to switch really shortly here to the scene, the scan done by the FPP, which is like completely. I mean, it doesn't look like the same film. This is the scan that FPP did.
The biggest crime that happened was that families would transfer their films from their film to VHS and then throw away the film.
Yeah. And my poor aunt, I guilt her all the time about it because I don't think she realized what it was when she threw it out. But I do guilt her every once in a while because I would love to have been able to digitize all of them.
And we receive a fair amount of vintage film here at the FPP for scanning. I send a note out with every single package that goes out asking the customer to please hold on to your film because the film will probably outlive your digital file.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to the topic of digital files. So scans are done to either a portable external hard drive or a USB thumb drive. And what I do is redundancy is important. On all of my files, I make a duplicate copy. Some folks advise triplicate copies of files. It gets to be its own job.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of work too.
Yeah, and Owen learned firsthand, a hard drive, did it blow up?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. Yeah, it was all like corrupted and couldn't see any of the files. And, some of those backups were that Mike, luckily just in time, had still had. Others, unfortunately, the film will have to be rescanned. But again, going back to your point, Mike, that's the beauty of having the film is I just can send the film back to the FPP and have them rescan it. And, then I have the file. And I think this time around, like you're saying, to do it, to do redundancies, I think what I'll end up doing is putting it on 2 hard drives. And then I also have a Blu-ray burner, which I really like because Blu-ray discs, now you can get really good quality archival Blu-ray discs that can hold, I think up to like 50 gig, maybe even more. And that gives you even another piece for you to store. And I have a fireproof safe I can put those in to keep them safe. But yeah, I think, it is super important to keep everything backed up.
We're interested in your comments. You can leave them down below, or you could drop us an email. Look forward to hearing from you folks. And we're looking forward to an awesome, filmtastic 2021.